Hey, glad you could make it. Today, I think that I want to talk about time, um, just, the theory of time, different theories, philosophy of time. I definitely have a difficult relationship with time. It always feels like it's going too fast, whenever I want it to slow down, and whenever I would like time to speed up a little bit, it always seems like it's gonna go ahead and take its sweet time, right? I feel like everyone like can relate to that. Um, that's just kind of the way that works. Uh, so to start out with, I can think of like two common sort of polarized theories, and then one kind of like middle ground theory within like the philosophy of time. It's presentism and eternalism, and then there's like the block universe theory. I'm not an expert in any of this, so if you can think of anything that I say that's wrong in any of this, please go ahead and comment below. I would love to hear what I say wrong within any of this. So to start out with presentism, it basically it's the idea that the past is gone and untouchable. It's dead time, basically, that it no longer exists. And then the future is yet to be decided until it is reached. So it is a completely open like space that is ready for the present to move into, right? And so what exists is just the present. And with that way of thought, the present is all that is truly real. The moment is what exists, because that is what is within like daily human perception, right? That's kind of, you think about, your daily life. That's what you perceive. You perceive the present. You can think on the past because you have memories, but your memories are not tangible per se, right? And you can imagine the future, but again, that is just you using your memories to create a sort of like construct in your own head of what could be, but that doesn't mean that's what is, right? That theory kind of, it makes sense, right? And then there's eternalism, on the other end, which is the idea that past, present, and future are all equally real at the same time. So past, present, and future is a constant, right? So locations in time are like locations in space. It's just something that we as humans cannot perceive. We can't perceive the past nor the future, even though if we had, say, like some kind of metaphysical perception, right, which would allow us to see, these points in time, rather than just having to think about it, where we could look forwards towards like future points or backwards towards past points, and we could visualize those things. It would be like standing on a tower, and then looking south and seeing another tower over here, and that was the day you were born, and the tower you're standing on is the present, and then you look forward and you see another tower to the north, and hey, that tower is the day that you die, right? So that probably doesn't match up fully, but that kind of helps me make sense of it. I like both of those. They're both interesting, right? But then there's also like the growing block universe theory, which is kind of a middle ground in my opinion. And it's like the universe is like a block. It's a cube, right? The past and present exist in this growing block universe, right? So the past is like previous layers in the block. The present is the current layer of the block, and then the future is just completely open. It's not set. It's a void waiting to be filled by the present, right? So as the previous present dies, it becomes like a previous layer, and the current present continues filling out the block universe. And so it's a growing block, right? That makes sense to me. I feel like that one, the thing about it is like that then makes it to where, you know, if the past exists, right, in our universe, we can reach back into it or something, like if we have the right magical technology, right? You know, well, I mean, we sort of have the technology now to at least look back into the past, you know, with like the way light has a finite speed to it. If you're far enough away, say if you can travel faster than light somewhere far enough, obviously we can't do that. But if you did, and you looked at Earth from 1,000 light years away, and you instantly traveled there, you would see the Earth 1,000 years ago. So, you know, we can sort of perceive the past if we have this, you know, fundamental law-breaking technology to go somewhere instantaneously, right? But we can't do that. But the theory is there, and it holds up. It's all a little confusing, and it makes sense as to why, you know, we haven't really figured out what is true and false, because none of this is actually very easily measurable. There are certain things that can be measured, but we can't just be like, look at that, that's time under the microscope, you know what I mean? So it's kind of, it's hard. It's hard thing for us as a species that can't. Oh, and here we go. I do not play very well around the hook almost every single time. Anyway, moving on to some other stuff that I wanted to talk about. There's like subjective time versus like objective time, right? Subjective time is what you see going on. So, oh, those 2 hours only felt like 5 minutes. And it's just that type of thing where it's like, you know, the actual number of like the time that passed versus like what the duration of that time actually felt like. And there's people that have studied that in the past, like Henry Bergson, and distinguished between clock time and duration time. And that's something that I always found interesting, because it's frustrating that you can't control that, you know? Like it's like you're doing something that you hate doing, and it feels like that half hour of doing that hated thing actually felt like 2 hours. Or you go and you're like, I'm gonna play my favorite game, and then 4 hours pass in the blink of an eye, and you're like, oh shit, I gotta go to bed because I have work in four hours. And it would be nice to be able to control that type of thing. But I know that's easier said than done, right? There's other stuff like, you know, how time is like an arrow facing one direction and it just keeps going. And so the fact that time is always moving in a direction means that that's something that we can perceive as like, oh, you know, this is proof that time exists as an actual fundamental concept. But it's like, it's hard to prove that type of thing, you know? Like, obviously there's like the idea of entropy, which is like thermodynamic arrow of time slowly just bringing, I guess, order to the disorder of the universe. Anyway, I could talk about entropy for a lot longer, but I'm right here at the end, so I'm gonna go ahead and say goodnight and make sure you hydrate, drink water, eat some food. I hope you can sleep good. And fuck the angler.
You